how has this year been successful through using flexible seating?
I noticed that my kids are a whole lot more interested and like once they sit down, they're reading and they're working and they're really focused on what they're doing rather than uh, they're able to move around when they need to and they can be in the position that works best for them as they're learning rather than sitting in a chair, a hard chair. I mean, who sits like this and reads? I don't know. I certainly don't. So.
And I like the conversation that Trisha and I have had because with our kids, obviously, because she does the literacy and I'm doing the math and the science, is that as we've reflected in front of them and sort of said what works for us, what works for me as a reader in terms of where I sit, I'd be here if I was reading. But when I'm doing math or if I'm writing, it's better if I'm sitting in a chair working in a desk, kind of hunched over the desk. And just to have that conversation with ourselves, but modeled in front of the students. And then because the kids are switching, there's, okay, well, for reading and writing, I know that I can do this, and this works well for me. And it's just, I don't know, I've really liked it. Just the agency that they have, and it's almost like they have it doubly because they go to two different classes. Yeah. And we've just spent time having them reflect. Like, did that spot work for you? You chose to sit on a soft seat while you're doing math. How did that work? What worked about it? I just noticed the engagement level kind of going up.
Me too. I think it's just like when they get to choose their own books. It's, just their engagement goes up because they're making the choice. And even though I teach reading and writing in here, I'll have students sit in different places. For reading, they'll lay down more or sit in against pillows, but for writing, more of them choose to sit at tables. And one of them that I'm so excited about, he was sitting at the table to write, but he was not sitting around people that were helping him. So now he's choosing a table where he'll remove himself to the other table to write. So I even see them making those decisions. And it's easy to avoid power struggles because you can say, it looks like this spot isn't working. Can you choose another spot? Or it looks like the spot's good, but not the people you're sitting by. And I've seen students who the first week or two we were struggling so much with, but through these we would do written reflections, like choosing a spot for success. What did you choose today? And they would kind of rate themselves. Tomorrow I will. Through that process and just reflecting as a group, I'm so excited to see kids who realized, okay, the spot was good, but not the person I'm sitting by. So they're figuring out which of their friends they can work well with too. So some of them are saying, even though I love this friend, we don't work as well together, but this friend and I work really well together. So
yeah. And for me, like being fifth grade and thinking about that progression from fourth grade to fifth grade, when they do go to middle school. I mean, I don't know exactly how middle school, but I imagine that I sort of tell them, your teacher doesn't care where you sit. And it's just, if they've been able to reflect in fourth and fifth grade about what works for them, in math, I need to be up at the front, or I cannot be next to my good buddies. It's only going to set them up for success like day one, rather than like having them have to struggle for the first 2 or 3 months of school in middle school.
Because I've noticed the self-advocacy part. I mean, tons of self-advocacy in my classroom. That it's like kids will just come up to me and say, "Can I just move?" And I'm like, "You don't even need to ask me. Just do it."
Yeah.
Right.
And so and the nice part is that now they're getting to the point where now they're telling their classmates, "This is why I'm moving, because I cannot work next to you, or because I do not like sitting at this table." And so they're putting a reason to why, and so again, it'll help them in the long run.
So too. And then it's kind of cool when we only have 2 spots, like my 2 wheelie chairs that I just happened to bring in from my daughter's room because I didn't need them anymore, but they're only 2 and they're popular. I see how they have to communicate and use their communication skills to say, tomorrow can I sit here? And then sometimes they have to work out a schedule or negotiate, which I think has been really cool also.
How have they negotiated in your class?
At first it was hard because they'd come up to me and I would say, okay, you need to work it out with that person. Did you tell them that you want to share the spot. So sometimes I go and I just watch them, tell them, and watch them work it out. And most of the time the student will say, okay, how about, can I sit here today and you can sit here tomorrow? But one time, one of them was late, and the two spots, the boys that were there, and they had made the agreement, didn't sit there, but two new people sat there, and she got there late, and she just handled it. She just went over to a table spot, and I was just able to compliment her. She was so cute. She goes, it was so hard. And I said, well, you know what, that was the right thing to do, because the boys held up their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
So it was, I think sometimes, in the last year, I did a little bit with the couch and not as much, not to the level, the different levels. But one time they had a schedule, like they'd written out a schedule. We haven't gotten to that yet.
How has it worked in your class with kids who want one spot or two kids who want the same spot?
They've done the, why don't you sit here today and I'll sit there tomorrow. What's been really interesting is that the kids, the standing tables, I love the standing tables. I don't want to sit down. I'm like, whenever I get the chance, I'm standing. But most of my students would prefer to sit under them. So when it's time to work, they might be standing at them. And then the moment that they're like, okay, let's go to our spots to work, they climb right underneath and start working, which I thought was really interesting. But that's the way they like it. And it's totally fine by me. And I've noticed too, like with the writing, most of the kids want to sit down at a table and write. And I'd say, I've noticed there are some kids who are always sitting in chairs. And there are some kids who they want to sit on the floor, or they're in a spot where they can get under a table and work. Some of the kids with the writing, I have little stools that I bought, and the kids sit down on one stool and put their book on another stool and write on the stool. So, and they're sitting under the table, and it's awesome, and they love it. And I'm like, okay, as long as you're working, that's all I care about. As long as you're working quietly and getting your work done, we're good. So, and it's been really, really good, I think, for using the Chromebooks, because the kids can get right up next to each other and talk about what they're doing, rather than all being in one spot here, and like they want to talk to each other about something, having to lean over this way. They can get right up next to each other and work. And so that's been good too. And especially when they were first logging in with the Chromebooks and they couldn't figure out what to do and who was doing what, they could help each other out rather than me running around the room like a chicken with my head cut off. So
Challenges that you've seen this year at all?
I mean, I think anytime you're I'm thinking of this, I feel like this is the same with curriculum. Like kids aren't used to a style like we do the workshop model, and if you're not used to the workshop model, like that change can be hard, I think. And I think that this much freedom at first was really a struggle for kids. I don't know, do you agree?
What I really noticed was I had a lot of pushback from parents about it. That I was really surprised about.
Yeah, and we didn't, which is interesting.
There were a lot of parents
what were some of the complaints? Like?
The parents didn't think that standing was appropriate at all. They thought that sitting on the floor would not help students to learn at all. They seemed to think that it was, even though I was very organized in the way that I laid it out, the parents were concerned that it was disorganized and that the children wouldn't be able to use their supplies that they bought, and that was just the first week or so of school. But as the kids got used to it and started probably coming home and saying, we really like it and we're having a lot of fun and this is working out for us, I haven't heard anything more. But
what about back to school night? Were the parents like asking questions?
Back to school night, the parents were really excited about it. They liked the way the room was really bright and open, and that there was, I mean, the setup encourages movement.
Yes.
And which is huge. And collaboration, and there's no haves and have-nots. Everybody has what they need, and it's not like somebody has more stuff than another person. Everybody has the same, which is nice.
I know that you and I talked about now it's kind of fun to watch them like use everything in a different way. And so, I mean, I think our challenges were mostly just setting it up in the beginning until kids got used to it and them making wise spots, mostly with who they sat by. And us also figuring out a way to organize. I think next year we would be smarter about how we have the kids all try out all of the spots. Because that was a little bit hard to figure out, but now that we have our Spot for Success poster, I think I would do like magnets or stickies or something and move them so that we could just move that so that they would have, I'd have a way to organize.
It's harder with 2 classes, but
Yeah.
if you had 1 class, it would be
Pretty easy.
fairly easy.
That was the hardest. But now, I mean, they love like the little IKEA tables. They'll get it and they'll set up their own little office area. And I also like some kids, I feel like when they struggle with social skills or being around a lot of kids all day, they can go into the corner and just work. And I think that really works for them. Before, when one student was struggling at a small table with 4 kids and just they weren't seeing the same things that he was seeing, and he was just so frustrated. Eventually he just found a spot all on his own. And he hasn't had any struggles since then. So
That's good.
I know.
That's good.
I think also for the students who maybe need a little bit more room, it's easier for them to get that space when they need it, rather than them maybe making other kids angry at them too. Because I've noticed that there haven't been as many issues like that because the kids will move from the kids will move, or the student who is having the issue will move. There's not been as much of me having to deal with he said this and she said that, because the kids take care of it themselves.
Yeah, they almost kind of, once you get a critical mass of people that buy into it, it's like, you'll have kids like, that's not a great spot for you, like, and they'll kind of move away from, or ask that person to move. They just sat down like, hey, you and I don't work well together, can you move? Or and it's just nice to see like that there's an agency and an ownership that doesn't happen even when they're at table groups. And that's kind of what we had last year. We had table groups and they could work on the floor if they wanted, but just taking that extra layer off and really kind of letting them really choose anywhere where they can be successful is, I don't know, that's been huge for us, I think.
Yeah.
In your years of experience in teaching, do you feel like this year, from what you've seen, the collaboration has been a lot more stronger between students because of the seating? Because I know you talked about having the table groups and they can talk within the table groups, but do you feel like it's gone a step further by doing that?
I do. I feel like the students were comfortable with that. Like I was, if I was saying, okay, you're in a group of 3, like if you can't really collaborate, then move. And we had to kind of step back and be like, okay, this is what collaboration would look like if you're in a group of 3. Like, and if you can't do it at a table, like move to a carpet or move to a smaller table, and like actually having to sort of giving them permission that they can take that move if they need to has been, I think, huge for me or for the kids.
I've noticed particularly with my the students, like as they're working on, I've been using Canvas for discussion questions. The kids were really excited to talk to each other about what they were typing and just really talking, like helping each other with spelling, and I think that because they're more relaxed, they're talking more, and because of the setup of the room, I can hear better what they're talking about. So I can help steer conversations, for example, and there are more conversations happening in different spots rather than like this conversation is happening at this table, and this is there our kids talking right here, and then there are a few kids maybe right next to them that I can scooch down and listen to what they're doing rather than me standing there like all stiff being the teacher and the kids sitting stiffly in chairs whispering. That's kind of bothersome. So it's just a lot more of a natural feel of collaboration as well, rather than it being forced upon them.
Well, so my big question to ask, the last one I asked the students, would you want to have this in the future? I'm going to ask you as teachers, would you stick with this in the future?
Yes, in fact, I thought it'd be kind of cool to ask them, are there spots that we need more of? Should we, I think that would be kind of fun, although I don't want another trip to IKEA right now for the holidays, so I don't really, but I kind of thought, I'm noticing that the short tables are really popular.
Yes, same in mine.
And I thought it would be the opposite, or I thought the stools are pretty popular, but I thought it would be the taller tables. So I'm a little bit, or I thought it would be the couch, and it's really weird. It's not. It's like the shorter tables and sitting on cushions or having pillows behind you. So I thought, well, that'd be easy if we wanted to just shrink one of these tables. So I would definitely do it, but I think every year is going to be different too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Depends on the group.
Yeah.
I would definitely do it. I would roll it out a little bit differently now that you kind of learn from your mistakes, just like anything. But absolutely.
I love it. I'm having a blast. I really like the way the room is set up. I think it's more relaxing for me. I mean, it works a lot better for me and my teaching style and the way I think and the way I work. So definitely.